The Travelling Cat Chronicles Part 3, The Unsentimental Farmer. The day we set off again, music filled the silver van once more, the kind that sounds like a magician is about to whisk a dove from a hat. Satoru said the title was Necklace of Olive. How come there was no dove in the title? If it were up to me, I'd put one in. How about calling it The Special Relationship Between a Dove and a Silk Hat? It's nice to have good weather again today, isn't it, Nana? Satoru was in a great mood. All cats get sleepy when it rains, and I was wondering, does weather affect humans physically too? Going for a drive isn't much fun if it's not sunny. So it was a question of mood. Humans are so easygoing. A cat's behavior is controlled by real-life factors, and for strays, the weather can be a matter of life and death. Our success rate in hunting changes too. We'll take a break at the next service station. Unlike when we went to Kosuke's place, the road we were taking on that day had very few places to stop. Satoru said it was called a motorway. Basically, the only time the silver van stopped was when Satoru announced that we were heading to a service station. Satoru said this was the road we had to take if we intended to travel far away. And this trip was indeed a long one. It was the previous morning that the silver van had left home. We drove along the highway all day, then stayed overnight at a place where they allow pets. With it being such a long trip, the space in the van had been compartmentalized. So if you'll excuse me a second. As I slipped off the passenger seat towards the back of the van, Satoru asked, "Something wrong?" and glanced at me. Sorry. Yeah, my toilet was on the floor at the back, a new one Satoru had bought which had a hood so the litter didn't fly all over the place. This way, Satoru and I could go as far as we wanted in our silver van. I thought it would be great if we could travel together like this for the rest of our lives. Nana, we're just going to pull into a service station. Okie dokie, I answered vaguely, raking up the litter between my legs. Once Satoru had parked at the service station, he pulled out my food and water bowls from the back. He placed them on the floor of the van side by side, filling one bowl with crunchies and the other with water from a plastic bottle. I'm going to go to the toilet too. Satoru hurriedly shut the door and strolled off. He looked like he really had to go, but he was such a good owner he had taken care of my needs first. I was wetting my whistle with the water when I heard a tapping on the window. Not again. I glanced behind me and then up to see a young couple, faces plastered against the glass, staring in my direction. The pair had goofy smiles. A cat. You got that right. A cat I am. So? A cat eating his crunchies isn't so rare a sight, is it? Oh, look, it's eating. How sweet. So sweet. Hey, you idiotic couple. How would you like it if somebody pointed at you while you were eating? And today happens to be a chicken breast and gourmet seafood blend. How come cat lovers spot me every time? Whenever we take a break, they swarm around me. Pretty amazing if you think about it. If you guys were the ones who fed me, then I'd be as sweet to you as the quality of the food merited. But Satoru's the one who feeds me. So let me focus on my food, okay? I decided to ignore them and dived back into my crunchies. With some screeches and giggles, they seemed to give up and wander away. But only moments later, I felt someone's red-hot gaze on me. I looked up despite myself, and this time it was a scary-looking, goblin-like old man's face plastered to the window. Yikes! I jerked away on reflex, and the old man looked really hurt. Come on! Anybody would shudder if they were suddenly confronted by that kind of face while they were having a snack. Not my fault now, is it? The old man looked upset but kept his face up against the window, staring at me. I'm guessing you like cats. This from Satoru, who'd come back. The old man, a bit flustered, replied, Sure is a cute little kitty. Cute little kitty? I looked up and meowed. On the other side of the window, Satoru smiled and nodded. Would you like to stroke him? Are you sure? The old man started to blush like a girl. Satoru opened the door and I clambered over to the seat. The old man reached out and I let him stroke me. His face began to glow. But just then, no way, a cat! The shriek came from a clump of Gyaru girls with dyed blonde hair and thick makeup who were passing by. I want to stroke it. Can we touch him after you? Get lost! I bared my teeth and made my fur stand on end, and the group of Gyaru shrieked again. Oh my God, he's angry! And ran off. But I wanted to give him a stroke. The tall one whined. It's okay. That kind of cat with those eyebrow markings isn't that cute anyway. Excuse me. This insult was so unfounded my face went into a kind of flamen response. I curled back my upper lip and bared my front teeth like a tiger. You are cute, Nana, very cute, Satoru hurriedly interjected. Those girls are a bit loud, and I'm sure their sense of what's beautiful is different from most people's. Let's just let it go. No, he really is a cute cat, the old man said. Nana, you said his name is? Yeah, because his tail's hooked into the shape of a 7. I didn't think we needed to explain the origin of my name to every passing stranger. But Satoru was always so conscientious when it came to things like that. Is he maybe the type that doesn't let people touch him much? Yes, he's very choosy about who he allows to touch him when we're out and about. I see, the old man said, smiling even more broadly. Then he gave me one final lingering pat on the middle of my back and walked off. Kind of unusual, isn't it, Nana, for you to let a passerby stroke you for so long? True enough. How should I put it? I was making amends, a sort of atonement. No need to analyse it any further. The van had been driving along for a while when I next stretched up to look out of the passenger window. The sea. I think you'll like the sea, Nana. Until then, I'd only seen it on the TV in Satoru's front room, which I used to watch from my blanket in the corner. To see it now for real was going to be amazing. And it was. The sparkling, deep green water was completely stunning, but more than that was the idea that underneath that water lurked all the delicacies that made up my gourmet seafood blend. Oops, I had started to drool at the thought of it. If, like last time, you end up coming back with me, let's stop by the sea properly. What? Stop by the sea? Might I be lucky enough to catch one or two of those delicacies? The sea was soon out of sight, and I drifted off for a bit. When I lazily opened my eyes again, the scenery had become tranquil and countrified. Now we were sliding past green rice paddies and broad fields like a whirligig. Oh, you're up. We're almost there. Just as Satoru said, the van soon pulled up in the front yard of a farmhouse. It seemed functionally constructed, large and practical. Nearby was an annex of sorts and a shed. Beside it was parked a smallish truck. I took the initiative and leapt onto the back seat, into the opened basket. I've learned that when you go into an unknown house, it's best and safest to be in a place you're used to, one where you can barricade yourself in. Satoru opened the back door and picked up the basket with me inside. Satoru Miyawaki. At the sound of a welcoming voice, I peered through the bars and saw a man in work clothes and a straw hat heading towards Satoru, hand held high. Yoshimine, how have you been? Satoru's voice was excited too. You're looking good. I work outdoors all the time, so your body naturally gets strong. Haven't you become a little thinner? Have I? Guess it's the unhealthy city lifestyle. The two of them clapped each other on the back and headed towards the main house. Did you have any trouble finding my place? No, the sat-nav made it easy. Still, I didn't think you'd come all this way from Tokyo by car. Flying would have been faster and cheaper. Going by road must have been a bit pricey. Absolutely. You have the tolls on the motorway, service stations, the pet-friendly little hotel we stayed in last night. By the time we got here, Satoru had opened his wallet several times. But if I had flown, then Nana would have been stored in the luggage hold, which is dark and noisy. One time I took another cat on a plane, and it was terrified for the entire day after we landed. Cats can't understand why they're in a situation like that, and I'd feel bad if Nana had to go through it. Okay, I might be terrified, But I'm a little offended that he'd think that Hachi could make it, but I couldn't. Surely I'm more intrepid than Hachi. After all, until I was an adult, I survived as a stray on the streets. Instead of worrying about me, you should worry about all the money you've spent on this trip. Inside the main house, Yoshimine showed us into the living room. Satoru placed my basket in a corner and opened the door. Yoshimine was crouching in front of my basket. "Mind if I take a look at Nana?" he said, peering in. "Sure, but it might take a bit of time for him to feel comfortable enough to come out." "No problem." "What do you mean, no problem?" I tilted my head in puzzlement, and just at that instant, a thick arm shot into the cage. "Hey, what?" The fat arm grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and, without so much as a "by your leave," dragged me out, then dangled me high up in the air. "Well, what the hell do you think you're doing, you barbarian?" If he could hone his skills through training, he would never be a true hunter like me. "He's still just a kitten. You shouldn't treat him so roughly." Satoru reached his hand out, fluttering it in the air in a stop that gesture. Yoshimine thrust the kitten at him. "Here, feel free to stroke him if you like." I'd love to. Satoru was a dyed-in-the-wool cat lover, like I said. Go ahead and get all lovey-dovey with that kitten. See if I care. It had been a long time since Yoshimine had received an email from his former junior high classmate, Satoru Miyawaki. He had just been thinking about him when the email arrived. After a few quick words to bring him up to date, Satoru issued his request. "I know this is a bit sudden, but could you take my cat for me? He's really precious to me," he went on, "but unavoidable circumstances make it impossible for me to keep him, and I'm looking for someone to adopt him." There were two things Yoshimine could read in this message. One was that his cat-devoted friend had once more found a cat he loved, and two, that once again he was having to part ways with it. When it came to cats, Daigo Yoshimine could take them or leave them. If there was one in the house, he'd notice it and look after it, but he wasn't passionate enough about them to adopt one himself. He felt the same way about dogs and birds. But having a cat on a farm did have its advantages. On farms, mice inevitably caused damage, and a cat was a pretty good means of control. He tapped out a reply. "I don't think I'd look after a cat the way you do. I treat them like cats, not like pets. But if you're okay with that, I'd be happy to take him off your hands. If you can't find anyone else, then let me know. Rest assured, I'll make sure he's looked after." Satoru wrote back, thanking him. "I've promised to show him to one other person first," he said, "but if that doesn't work out, I'll be counting on you." "Good, he's a proper cat." "What the hell do you mean by that? Hey!" Satoru, horrified, gave Yoshimine a healthy shove in the back. "What do you think you're doing?" "I just wanted to make sure he's a real cat," Yoshimine explained, holding me against him with his thick arm. I tried to kick myself free, but that thick arm just took my kicks and didn't budge an inch. "What do you mean?" "Look, you hold him like this, see? Don't hold him like that. If his back legs fold up when you do this, it means he's a real cat." "Let me go!" I put my legs together and kicked off against Yoshimine's arm, flopping around like a salmon. Finally, I was able to break free. I twisted my body around and landed perfectly on my 4 paws. Keeping my belly low to the ground, I turned to meet Yoshimine's eye, and he said, "Whoa!" and clapped his hands. "One fine cat you've got here. Well coordinated and smart, too. An outstanding cat." I underestimated him. "Yeah, I guess so. That can't be true. Of course I'm well bred, but still." Satoru interrupted, in sync with me. "But still, that's not the point. Great minds think alike. Why did you grab Nana by the neck like that? It startled him." "The reason is, I found a stray recently that isn't a real cat. If Nana turned out to be like that one, there wouldn't be much point, from a farmer's perspective, in having him. So I just wanted to check him out." This unpleasant guy came over to try to play with my tail, which I was waving slowly to show my displeasure. I spun around, only to find an orange tabby male kitten beside me. He'd appeared out of nowhere and was meowing and trying to cling to my hooked tail. What a pain! Yoshimine grabbed the kitten by the scruff of the neck and picked him up. The kitten's legs drooped down in a line. This one isn't a real cat, see? True, this kitten didn't seem equipped with the natural abilities of most cats. He was the kind, like Hachi, that would never catch a mouse. Even,